in regards to Karmelo Anthony today. Charleston White went from Karmelo Anthony's biggest supporter and biggest advocate to
I was starting to feel like I was being used for my influence and my connections. Mitch said he's not taking the case. Why? Too many hands involved. They're trying to bring too many black lawyers involved. We don't need blackness.
Before we get into this, you gotta understand who Charleston White actually is, because this man is not just some random internet personality popping off for views. Charleston White grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and by the time he was 14 years old, he was already deep in the streets. He caught a murder charge as a juvenile, spent years locked up inside the Texas Youth Council system, and when he walked out, he made a decision that most people in his position never make. He flipped the script entirely. He founded an organization called HYPE, Helping Young People Excel, a real nonprofit dedicated to pulling at-risk youth away from the exact same path he had walked. He became a volunteer chaplain. He went back into the system this time as a motivational speaker. He earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Texas Wesleyan University. This man built something real from nothing. But here's where it gets complicated. Charleston White figured something out early in his social media career, and he has actually admitted this publicly. When he came out speaking positive, uplifting content about the black community, growth, accountability, the youth, the numbers were quiet, the engagement was low, but the moment he started being loud, controversial, in your face, getting under people's skin, the views exploded, the followers poured in, and he leaned into it. Now, a lot of people who followed Charleston for years, they've learned how to separate the two sides of him. The side that walks into rooms full of young black men and speaks real truth to them, people respect that side. The side that goes viral doing the most outrageous things imaginable for attention, that's the part that's always been harder to defend. And up until very recently, most of his community was willing to give him that grace. They'd ignore the noise and focus on the message. But something happened, something that crossed a line even for people who'd been riding with Charleston White for years. And that's exactly what we're about to get into.
In regards to Karmelo Anthony today, Charleston White went from Karmelo Anthony's biggest supporter and biggest advocate to Karmelo Anthony's biggest op within a day. Like, Charleston White is full-blown op mode, full-blown an enemy of Karmelo Anthony as of today. Now, he announced earlier that he's completely done working with the family.
I was starting to feel like I was being used for my influence and my connections and resources. When I tell you we raised over $1 million one day, privately, quietly. They wanted to start another GoFundMe. I said, no, I'm not doing the GoFundMe. They wanted to know, after we pay for the pill, will the money go to them? No. The extra money don't go back to you. It goes back to the people who gave it. It don't go to nothing else. The money is for the pill. So, going forward, I am no longer walking with nor associated or helping Karmelo Anthony.
Now, to understand why this hit different, you gotta know the full backstory of the Karmelo Anthony case. The 2nd of April 2025. Frisco, Texas. A high school track meet. Two teenagers, Karmelo Anthony, 17 from Centennial High School, and Austin Metcalf, 17 from Memorial High School, end up in a confrontation at Kuykendall Stadium. According to witnesses, the argument started over a tent, a seating area in the bleachers. Something as small as that. It escalated fast, and Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf died at the scene. The case immediately exploded nationally, not just because of the tragedy, but because of the racial dynamics surrounding it. Karmelo is black, Austin was white, and the internet didn't let either side breathe. Now, Charleston White? He originally came out against Karmelo, thought he was guilty, but then he met with the Anthony family. He heard the details. He changed his position publicly, went on social media, and apologized, said he was wrong about that kid. He reportedly claimed he helped raise over $1 million privately without a GoFundMe to fund Karmelo's appeal after the guilty verdict came in on the 9th of June 2026. A Collin County jury found Karmelo guilty of first-degree murder after less than 3 hours of deliberation. The judge handed down a 5-year sentence that same evening. Charleston White attended the trial. He was vocal. He was emotional. He was out there fighting for this kid loudly, publicly, on every platform he had. And then, within a single 2-4 hour window, everything changed. One disagreement with the family, One phone call gone wrong, and the man who was Karmelo Anthony's loudest advocate in the streets became something else entirely. Let's get into exactly what happened.
Eddie in the way. I don't like weak. I hate weak men.
I personally would need a little bit more proof for me to believe that the Karmelo Anthony family and Charleston White raised $1 million.
Now look, here's where you have to be honest about both sides. Charleston White is making some serious allegations here. He's claiming that Karmelo Anthony's father was more focused on what happened to the leftover donation money than on the actual appeal itself. He's alleging that the family wanted that remaining money redirected back to them personally, not back to the donors who gave it, and not toward the legal fight for their son. And the truth is, if those receipts exist, if there is documented proof that the family was trying to pocket funds that were specifically raised for Karmelo's legal defense, then Charleston White stepping away from the situation becomes understandable. Nobody wants to raise money for a cause only to watch it get misused. But here's the problem. As of right now, no one outside of Charleston White's own statements has verified that $1 million was raised privately in a single day without any public GoFundMe, without any public announcement, without any documented paper trail that's been shown to the public. That's a massive claim. And a massive claim requires massive proof. Until that proof surfaces, this is still just Charleston White's version of events. And when you're dealing with a family whose son is sitting in a Texas prison looking at 35 years, you better come with receipts before you start flipping the narrative.
Under a day from private donors without a GoFundMe link. I don't know. I don't believe it. But if they did raise $1 million and they were asking if they could keep the money that they don't use on the appeal, then I can understand why Charleston White can be frustrated, because if he's getting money from donors or from people who I guess trust him.
So Charleston White pulls out. He announces publicly he's done with the family. And look, walking away from a situation that doesn't feel right, that's actually his right. Nobody can force anybody to continue advocating for a family if they feel used. But it's what came after that announcement that broke everything open. Because Charleston White did not quietly exit. He did not step back with his dignity intact and let the family handle their business. No, the moment he said he was done, he shifted into a completely different mode. And the streets immediately started talking.
The appeal process, and the family is already talking about using the money for themselves. That's a red flag, and I can understand why he personally says, I'm not dealing with this. Also, them wanting to bring in Benjamin Crump and Black Lives Matter, I can see why Charleston White would say, hey, bro, Black Lives Matter has been scamming out here for a while. I don't want to be associated with Black Lives Matter. Understood, right? It's his right. It's his right to say, I'm done. I'm not working.
Now here's the thing, and you have to give credit where it's due, even when you're not agreeing with somebody's actions. Charleston White has a track record of something you almost never see in the world he operates in. When he's wrong, he will say he's wrong. He's done it before. He's gone on camera, retracted statements, apologized to people he's wronged, and kept it moving. In a space full of people who would rather die on a bad hill than admit a mistake, that quality actually stands out. But even that level of self-awareness doesn't erase what's unfolding in real time. Because the question isn't whether Charleston White can check himself. The question is whether he's going to check himself before he causes more damage to an already fractured situation. And right now, the actions are speaking louder than any future apology could.
I'd rather stand with a strong daddy like that Metcalf man than his black weak father trying to play victim.
Metcalf.
Now, your son's still living. Hug him, send him some books to read. I got the money. Let's start to work on the appeal. Anything else don't make sense. What's wrong with you? So, myself, along with criminal defense mitigation specialist, Shannon Ross, along with attorney Mitch Nolte, we are removing ourselves. Mitch was never on the case, but Mitch said he's not taking the case.
And this right here is where everything went from complicated to completely indefensible for a large part of the audience watching this unfold. Charleston White announced a merchandise line. He called it Watermelon Felon, and he put Karmelo Anthony's face on it, on a watermelon, on a t-shirt. Now, if you don't know where that term comes from, let's be crystal clear. Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf's father, appeared on the Jinx Sip podcast on the 10th of June 2026, just one day after his son's killer was sentenced. The gag order had just been lifted, and Jeff Metcalf, in front of a camera, with a grin on his face, used a deeply anti-black racial stereotype to coin a new nickname for Karmelo Anthony. Watermelon Felon. He literally said, and this is documented, "Let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral." Then he laughed about it. The backlash was immediate. Black community figures, civil rights attorneys, social media, everybody came down hard on those comments. Attorney Lee Merritt posted about it. TMZ covered it. The clip spread to tens of millions of views. And Charleston White, a black man, a man who built his entire brand on advocating for black youth, took that exact racist term, slapped it on a product, put Karmelo's face on it, and started selling it on his website. That's not strategy. That's not deep. That's something a lot of people in his own community are struggling to forgive right now.
Mitch said he's not taking the case. Why? Too many hands involved. They're trying to bring too many black lawyers involved. We don't need blackness. We need righteousness. We need righteousness. We don't need blackness. So the dad done rubbed me the wrong way. When I got an email from Mitch Nosen, one of the top attorneys, well, I didn't get the email. The email was forwarded to me. But if Mitch ain't in, and Mitch won't get in, and Mitch won't take it, it's something stinky about this. And I'm telling you, homie, everybody believe you playing for the money. And I'm starting to believe you using me for it. You want to get the money, but then disassociate yourself from me? I'm here for that boy.
And just when you thought this situation had hit its ceiling, it went further. Because Charleston White didn't just launch the shirt, he had a justification ready. He had a whole explanation locked and loaded for why this was actually the right move. And honestly, the moment he started explaining it, a lot of people already knew exactly where he was going with it before he even finished the sentence.
Did that Karmelo Anthony had a public defender. The family denied it, but that was going around. People were claiming the family took the money for themselves and left Karmelo Anthony, like out to dry. I'm of the mindset nobody loves Karmelo Anthony more than his mama and his daddy. And I feel like his mama and his daddy, from their perspective, would do the best for Karmelo Anthony that they think is the best. I don't feel like they are making decisions to F over their own son. That's just my perspective, though. But there are concerns, and those concerns are real. Like, where is the money going? Why are they so adamant about the money left over going to them opposed to going to the appeal, et cetera, et cetera. So Charleston White, to me, is 100% valid in feeling how he feels. If he wants to distance himself from the family, he has every right to do so. Charleston White announced a merch line called Watermelon Felon with Karmelo Anthony face on a watermelon.
Now, here's where the conversation gets genuinely complicated, and this is the part that separates people who are reacting emotionally from people who are actually thinking through what's happening. There is a perspective, and some people hold it seriously, that Charleston White is playing a longer game here. The argument goes something like this. Black people, historically, have united hardest when there is a clear, visible enemy. When there's something openly wrong in front of everybody's face that nobody can ignore or spin. And right now, between Jeff Metcalf's racist podcast rant and Charleston White, putting that racist language on merchandise, people across the black community who weren't even following this case closely are suddenly paying attention, suddenly angry, suddenly talking to each other. There's even a historical parallel some people draw here. During the movement to remove Confederate statues across America, there were voices, including some respected community thinkers, who argued against taking those statues down. Not to honor what they represented, but because those monuments served as a constant, visible reminder of a painful history that should not be forgotten, especially by young people who need to understand what their community has survived and continues to fight against. Whether Charleston White is intentionally engineering outrage as a tool for community mobilization, or whether he is simply a man who got into a personal dispute, lost his composure, and made a bad series of decisions that he'll eventually walk back, the community is genuinely divided on which one it is. What is not in dispute is this. Whatever the intent, the impact has been real. People are unified in their frustration. And frustration, when directed properly, has historically been the fuel that moves communities forward. The question is whether this specific situation deserves to be the spark, or whether Charleston White just used a child's face and a racist slur to sell t-shirts and dressed it up as activism.
T-shirts on his website. Charleston White was saying, capitalism supersedes racism every time. Watermelon Felon shirts will be on the website soon in 3 to 4 hours. Now, selling these t-shirts, to me, this is just damn near unethical. I don't agree with this at all. Like, why? Now, if you guys don't know where Watermelon Felon came from, Austin Metcalf's daddy went on this racist tirade where he labeled Karmelo Anthony a watermelon felon. Now, Charleston White is taking that term and putting Karmelo Anthony's face on a T-shirt with guilty of murder on behind, watermelon felon, and selling this. And I don't understand why. Like, if you once were a part of Karmelo Anthony's team and you was helping to free him, you can't possibly believe he's guilty of murder. Because if you thought Karmelo Anthony was guilty of murder and you were trying to get him free, there's something wrong with you. So I don't think Charleston White, in his mind, in his actual heart, believes Karmelo Anthony is guilty of murder. I don't know if it's a dispute with the dad.
And look, as messy as all of this is, there's a sliver of something in here that some people are choosing to hold on to. Because when your people start linking up, when they stop fighting each other and start focusing outward, that's when real energy builds. That's when communities have historically moved mountains, even if the spark that lit the fire was ugly. Even if the person who struck the match was doing it for the wrong reasons. The fire is the fire, and right now, that fire is burning. That doesn't make what Charleston White did right. Not even close. But it's a real thing that's happening, and some people are choosing to focus on the outcome rather than the method. That's a choice each person watching this has to make for themselves.
To this kid, like, why? Bro, this kid to me is going through enough right now. Right? Now, regardless of if you believe, like, Karmelo Anthony is innocent or guilty, I think we can all agree that Karmelo Anthony didn't leave his house that day looking to kill somebody. Right? I think this was a bad decision by Karmelo Anthony. He got to face his accountability and his consequences right now. But I don't think piling on and doing this to this kid is cool. And definitely, bro, like, not using a watermelon felon term, bro. Like, come on, like, bro, there's different levels of bootlegging and tap dancing I've ever seen, bro. Charleston White is better than this, man. But it gets worse.
Oh my God.
It gets worse, okay? Charleston White would then say that...
Bottom line, however you want to slice this situation, it's a mess in every direction. Either Charleston White believed Karmelo Anthony was innocent the entire time, genuinely fought for him, raised money in his name, sat through that trial, and then turned on him the moment he had a disagreement with the boy's father. Which means a 19-year-old sitting in a Texas prison just became a casualty of somebody else's personal beef. Or he never fully believed in the cause to begin with, and used the whole thing for clout and engagement, which is arguably even worse. There's no version of this story where Charleston White comes out looking clean. And at the end of the day, Karmelo Anthony is the one who has to live with that.
Folks should be able to profit from racism. I feel like that there's other ways to help the Austin Metcalf family. You could have done a comedy show and raised proceeds for the family. You could have done a barbecue and raised proceeds for the family. You could have done a lot of things to raise money for Austin Metcalf family. I don't think you need to put Karmelo Anthony's face on a watermelon and then put it on a shirt and then sell that shirt to reward it back to the white family. I think that's messed up. That's effed up, right? Because you could support the Austin Metcalf family, right? They lost a son. They deserve support. Go ahead and raise money other ways. Don't raise money off the back of racism, bro. Like, that's not cool, Charleston. Like, that's tap dancing, bro. That ain't cool, man. And he's doing all of this that right after going publicly and apologizing to Austin Metcalf's father, after Austin Metcalf's father called him out. Right? Again, I ain't never seen Charleston White submissive. I ain't never seen Charleston White bowing down to anybody. The fact that Charleston White is choosing to bow down to Austin Metcalf's daddy in this instance is crazy. Because the daddy went off on Charleston White. Like, he went crazy. So Charleston White putting out a public apology, damn near kowtowing and bowing down to Austin Metcalf's daddy, and then doing the watermelon stuff, to me, is the facts of the case. Like, Charleston White knew the facts of the case. He did multiple interviews breaking down the facts of the case. He was crying, detailing the facts of the case. He went to trial, heard the facts of the case, and then after the case, after the trial, he was raising money to file Karmelo Anthony's appeal. So if you were saying Karmelo Anthony was innocent after the trial, after you heard everything, and then the minute that you get into it with his family, you done switch sides, and now he's guilty of murder, and now you are supporting Austin Metcalf's family to get justice against Karmelo Anthony. To me, again, that's foul in so many ways, because if you felt in your heart Karmelo Anthony was guilty and you were still supporting him anyway, that's bad. Because if you felt in your heart he was guilty all along and you were still supporting him, that's crazy, because why would you support a murderer? But if you think Karmelo Anthony is innocent and you're only now turning on him because you got into it with his family, I'm like, damn, you are willing to now start working against Karmelo Anthony to keep him locked up, to put him in jail
Hey, I can't. I ain't feeling it.
Longer than he probably already is going to be in there for,
I ain't
because
feeling
you got into it with his father. I don't think that's cool either. So either way you slice this, man, I think it's foul. But this is what Charleston White was doing yesterday before all the antics
I
today.
ain't feeling
I
it.
want to say this to the Metcalf parents. If I have said anything that hurt you, I ask for your forgiveness.
And just to round out the picture, this is the same Charleston White who, just a short time before all of this drama went down, stood in front of a camera and publicly apologized to Austin Metcalf's parents. He said, on record, that if anything he said caused them pain, he was asking for their forgiveness. That clip went everywhere. So, you've got a public apology to one family, and then almost immediately after a racist-coded merchandise line targeting the other family's son. In the same 2-4-hour window. That's the timeline people are dealing with right now. And that's why so many people who gave Charleston White grace for years are saying this time it's different.
My emotions, and I was in my own ideology at that moment. And with that being said, I want to talk to the father, not the mother. When I look at this situation, the absence of the mother in front of the camera lets me know that's a grieving mother. I did my best. I did my best. I heard you say it,
I think
and I
he's
made
doing
a
this to
call
make
when I heard
everybody
you say
mad,
it.
bro.
This is not about race. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to hate.
I don't like what he's
And
doing.
I'm telling black people, nobody have a right to be mad at you. You don't have a right to be mad at those parents. If we take us out of it and put those 2 kids back of it because we lost 2 children, we're arguing. We brought race into it. Black people introduced it. White people accepted it. From start to now, I've been trying to reject it. Why? It takes the focus off both children.
I didn't have a problem with that, honestly, in a vacuum. But you take that and you add the context of what Charleston White did immediately afterwards. I don't even feel like Austin Metcalf's family and stuff is getting backlash. It's just Jeff Metcalf, because Jeff Metcalf did that racist rant, right? He went off calling Karmelo Anthony a watermelon felon, like.
Yeah, we passed the time.
So, there it is, the full picture of what went down between Charleston White, the Karmelo Anthony family, and the Jeff Metcalf watermelon felon situation. A case that started with 2 teenagers at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, on the 2nd of April 2025, spiraled into a nationally covered murder trial, a guilty verdict, a 3-5-year prison sentence, a racist podcast rant, and now a black motivational speaker selling merchandise using that same racist language while claiming it's restorative justice. This is one of those situations where everybody watching it from the outside has to ask themselves what is actually happening here, and who is it actually helping? Karmelo Anthony has already filed a notice of appeal. His legal team moved on that within 24 hours of the verdict. That fight is not over, but the drama around the case, around the money, the clout, the statements, the merchandise, that might actually be doing more damage to his appeal than anyone on the outside wants to admit. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Charleston White's move was calculated or completely reckless? Do you think the Anthony family had a legitimate grievance about how donations were being handled? Or was Charleston White out of line for flipping the script on a kid who's looking at 3.5 decades in a Texas prison? I want to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.